Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here today on Conscious Business Zone with Teresa Helgeson. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today, Kathy? Hello, everybody.
Yes. So, you guys, I met Teresa when she did a presentation at the Society for Scientific Exploration, which is SSE to me. I always have trouble remembering that acronym. And so, even though you'll think the subject is a little bit different, there's a lot of science to it, and there's a lot of credibility that Teresa brings to it. And I can't wait for you to understand more about it. So, Teresa, start wherever you want to start as far as explaining your journey to working with the plants.
Thank you, Kathy. I'd be happy to. I was guided by spirits 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago now, to go on a journey to an eco-spiritual community in Italy called the Federation of Dom and Her. And while I was there, we got an opportunity to go into the sacred forest to hear the music of the sacred forest. And when we went into this sacred forest, it was like walking onto the movie set of Robin Hood, because there were all kinds of tree houses in the forest that people were living in. There was a web of suspended bridges connecting all the tree houses. And there was one tree house that was a common area that had the kitchen, dining room, and living room. And while we were in that common area, I heard this really angelic music, not like anything I'd ever seen before or heard before. It was just magnificent. And so I asked our guide what that music was. And so she took us out onto a porch, showed us a little bitty, real small houseplant that was connected to all this different equipment. And it was the plant that was making this music. And what she had shared with us was that they moved into the forest to learn how to live in harmony with the forest without disturbing its ecology. And they'd been there for 25 years by the time I'd been there. And so then they took their research to the next level. And they wanted to figure out, how can plants better communicate with humans, and how can humans better communicate with plants? So they developed a machine that it basically took modern day biofeedback technology and adapted it to plants. And so when the equipment is connected to the plant, and the way that that works is there's an electrode that connects to the leaf and a grounding wire that goes in the soil. And it picks up a complete energetic frequency that the plant is emitting. And the biofeedback machine picks up that frequency and translates it into sound using a built-in synthesizer. So then the plant manipulates the sound that's coming from the synthesizer. So the equipment essentially becomes the musical instrument, and the plant becomes the musician. And when she explained all this to us, she asked us if we wanted to go on a journey with the plants. So we took the plant and the equipment and 100 feet of extension cord and walked out into the center of this sacred forest. And we sat down in a grove of birch trees. And while we were sitting at the grove of birch trees, she connected the plant back to the equipment, the little house plant, and it played that angelic music again. And she proceeded to teach us that, you know, nature, most of nature has forgotten it has a song, especially in concrete cities. And she helped me remember that, you know, the indigenous shaman of our world don't need equipment to hear the music of the plants, because the way that they learn how to use the plant medicine is by going on a journey with the plant. And the plant teaches its song to the shaman. And then through that process, the shaman learns how to use the medicine of the plant. So the indigenous shaman of the world have been hearing the music of the plants for centuries, but we are so disconnected from nature. We have rubber soles on our shoes, so we're not walking on the ground anymore. We have concrete all over the cities and around our trees. So, you know, it's kind of like the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. So she was reminding us that this little house plant that they had playing is what they call the teacher plant. And that teacher plant, every time it played, would remind all of nature around it that it too had a song. And remember, you can do this, like riding an old bike, you know. You can do this. Remember, you used to do this. And so after about 15 minutes of this plant playing music by the grove of birch trees, she disconnected the plant, connected it up to the birch tree. And the birch tree, as soon as it started playing music, was very deep and baritone and robust and powerful in its sound. And it immediately took me on a journey. I had my very first out-of-body experience. And I saw this vision, this movie play out before my eyes. And at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand everything I was seeing. I just knew that it had something to do with plant music. And I was seeing all this stuff happen. And then at the end, it had this big grandiose ending, like, ta-da, this is it. And then the movie replayed, and this time it went in slow motion. And I would see it frame by frame. Yeah, it was like I would see the frame in color, and then it would turn into a negative. And at the moment it turned into a negative, I would feel the back of my brain buzz, just buzz. And it made me feel like it was burning all that frame into the memory banks of my brain so I wouldn't forget it for a future date. And then at the same time that was happening, I would hear this voice say, this is what you're going to do with the plant music. And then it would go to the next frame, and it would be color, and it'd be a negative, and it would burn in my brain. And then I'd hear, this is what you're going to do with the plant music. And then it'd go to the next frame. And it went like that all the way through the movie until we got to that big old grandiose ending. And of course, it was probably at the time, the most cathartic experience of my life. Wonderful. It changed the trajectory of where I was going and what I was doing in my life, because I felt like spirit or the divine or whatever name you want to give that spoke to me and told me what my purpose is.
Right.
And at the time I was working in the corporate world. So this was like totally out of left field from everything I was doing. Right. And so that kind of started my journey with the plant music, because when I was done with that vision, I went to the people there in Damanhur and asked them how I could bring the equipment home. And at that time, they weren't making it to sell it. They were still experimenting with it. And when I shared with them my vision and the voice and what I had seen and heard and felt, they understood that I couldn't come back to the US without it. So there were 3 days left on my trip, and they made me a piece of equipment during that 3-day period. And I was one of the very first people to bring it back to the US.
Wow.
And since then, we've been on this journey.
Wow. Well, we have, I got to experience it the first time with Kimba Aram, who also was there probably a very similar time frame. And her system is clunky, and I imagine your first one was, versus what Noelle and Bob Warner are on here. And they have a thing that looks like a phone. It's a little bit bigger than a phone. It looks like an external.
Called a bamboo.
Yeah. And so, and they say, hi there, we love Damanhur, been there twice. Can't live in the tree houses anymore, I think, with a question mark or a frown. So
yeah, they don't have them anymore. They had to tear them down. Yeah.
Well, what I wanted everyone to understand is that what we're doing now with these new energies is we're being able to access so much more. And if you think about the origin of this creation, whatever you want to call it, the matrix or creation, it is sound and light.
Yes.
And so what Teresa did is, Teresa is probably is her soul mission, and she probably planned this before she came into physical. She was activated so that people could experience in an easy to understand way the sound of the spheres or of nature, and that we all have a voice.
Yeah.
And cymatics does that. I mean, there's science behind all of this, correct?
Yes. And, it's funny that you bring that up, because I was going to talk about it. I do Christmas plant music concerts every year, and I do plant music concerts on Earth Day every year. And I've been doing them for the past 6 years. And for this last Christmas concert, we were able to incorporate cymatics technology into the presentation so that you could actually see the energetic pattern that is coming from the plant music.
Oh my gosh, how many plants do you have when you do that, or is it all recordings?
No, they're live plants. When I do the concerts, it's all live plants, and it depends on what location I'm at for Christmas. I usually have 6 plants playing music at one time. In San Diego for Earth Day, I did 8 plants, and 4 of them were indigenous to the land, and 4 of them were potted in a in a pot. And so it just varies on the location as to how many. But yeah, it's always live plants when we do the concerts.
Well, I want to give a plug also for this because I am a member of the Co-Creators Convergence. And for many years when I was helping Noelle and Bob, who are on this call, we would use the singing plants as our background music. So, I mean, the years that we didn't have it, we had to like choreograph the music. This music goes with this thing. But when we had the plants, they knew the energy in the room was incredible anyway, because you have all these co-creative beings of light that want to all connect and work together as soul family. So you have that, number one. And then you had this music. So one year we only had one plant, and Mary Kirk from Boulder lent me her plant and lent me her music, her device. And then I think 2 years later, we had 3 plants. And then during one of the breaks, someone said, well, let's take one of the devices and put it outside. So we put it on a thick strand of grass that was growing in the sun out the door of the room we were in. And it was so happy. It was thrilled to talk to us. And but it was probably singing its song just to sing its song, because that's what everything else in nature does. They don't criticize or complain. They're happy. They're so anyway, I wanted to share that because that was remarkable to have that background energy which supports everything. Nature supports us if we just allow it, right?
Yeah, if you think about it, there's not a single thing in nature that does not sustain life. Everything in nature sustains life. That's what it does. That's what its purpose is.
Right.
Yeah. And when you have more than one plant playing music together, like at the concerts, there's a natural entrainment that takes place. Yeah. And after about 15, 20 minutes, the plants will start harmonizing to create a unified concerto.
So Darlis May said we had to turn it down. The blade of grass was so loud. And Darlis has a device too. And she actually said happy Monday, but today's Tuesday. So and then Angel Divine says hello, Teresa, Kathy, and everyone. And Vanna Kozar says I'm so excited to research all of this now. Thank you. Awesome. So yeah. Awesome. So do you want to introduce the star of the show right next to you?
Yeah. So, of course, the plant that started all of this, I don't know if you can see her very well. Can you see her okay?
Pixie.
This is Pixie. She's a red vein prayer plant, and people ask me all the time why I chose a red vein prayer plant to start all of this with. And as this whole journey has been, I did not choose Pixie. She chose me. And once I came back from Dom and her with that original piece of equipment, and back in the day when they were first developing it, it was clunky. You had the biofeedback machine, and you had to have a separate synthesizer and separate speakers. And there was now it's much easier with the bamboo that is a cell phone size machine. But back then it was real clunky. And so I thought they gave me a 20-minute tutorial before I left Dom and her and said, here, this is how you connect the devices. This is what you do. This is how you adjust it. Go forth and prosper. And I thought, okay, all I need to do is connect it into my plants and they'll play music. And that didn't work.
Well, they knew that you had gotten the download. So probably the elementals are working with you.
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of them. Yeah. So when I came home, I had many of my houseplants sacrifice their lives. I could learn a few things. I did not have a green thumb. I was so excited to show everybody the music of the plants. That's all I could talk about when I got back. And so I connected it up to my plants and nothing happened. And I kept the equipment connected 24/7. And so one of the first things I learned is you can't keep electromagnetic frequencies connected to living tissue 24/7 or it will kill them. And that's basically what happened. So after about a month of no sound whatsoever coming from any of my plants, I just stopped. I was like, okay, something's not right, so I'm just not going to stress over it. And I don't know, a couple weeks later, I was meditating in my backyard, and during my meditation, I saw this leaf of this plant, and it was very vivid and very clear, but it was not a leaf I'd ever seen before. And at the moment that I saw the leaf, I heard this voice say, I'm the plant that's going to teach you how to do the plant music. And then it disappeared. And right away, I'm like, come back. I don't know what kind of plant you are. Where do I find you? You know, because I didn't have a green thumb. I had a brown thumb. Oh, and about 3 days later, we walked into my favorite nursery, and there was a whole table of 50 of these plants that had that leaf on it. And so I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like picking up every single plant. Are you the one that came to me in my meditation? And I'd hug it, and I'd hold it, and I'd commune with it, and I'd listen, and I'd put it down. I'd go to the next one. Are you the one that came to me in my meditation? You know, people thought I was crazy. In fact, my husband made a beeline for the other end of the nursery going, I don't know the crazy lady.
It's like she was normal when I married her.
Exactly. But you got to remember, this was in 2007, so there weren't as many people waking up as there are now.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, people did think I was crazy, and that's okay. I like being crazy. In my world, I'm pretty happy. But anyway, I found the right plant, and when I came home, I meditated with the plant, and this is the plant, Pixie. She told me her name was Pixie, and so she's the one that's been guiding this whole journey. And in the beginning, I thought when I came back with the music that it was my job to help reconnect people with nature, because I had 2 separate shamans come to some of my events. One was a Peruvian shaman, and then another one was a Navajo shaman. And both of them independently said that when Pixie plays music, they see her tribe come out of her pot and connect to the shins of the people in the audience, and they're reattuning the people in the audience back to nature. And the reports I would get from people after coming to a live event would be that their experience out in nature was much more vivid. It was much more alive. The colors were more vibrant. They would hear things. They would feel things. In fact, my husband came to the very first public event I did, and he's a carpenter, and he would always tease me that I'm the tree hugger and not him, right? But he's a carpenter, so he works with wood all the time.
Yeah.
And the day after the event, he had to do work on a cabin up in Coal Creek Canyon. And he comes home that night and he says, what did you do to me last night at that event? And I'm like, nothing. Why? He says, I went up there to that cabin and there was a tree that had this big bolt put right through the middle of the trunk that people use to anchor in a satellite dish. And I felt the pain of that tree, and I felt so bad I had to go over and hug it and tell it I'm so sorry for what those people did to it. And he goes, you're the tree hugger, not me. What did you do? And I said, it wasn't me, it was Pixie. So we get those reports all the time, but in the beginning, that's what I thought the whole purpose in me doing this was. And of course, there's always more to the story. And there was a period of time when I was going through insomnia really bad. And for about 3 weeks, I hadn't slept but maybe 2 hours in 3 weeks. And I really thought I was going crazy. And I remember Pixie has her own room, and we would have her connected to the equipment playing music at night. And I remember walking into her room at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I laid down on the floor, and I remember thinking, I didn't say it out loud, but I remember thinking, oh, Pixie, I wish you could help me sleep. And I woke up 12 hours later on the floor, and I went, what was that about? And so that kind of started my journey with trying to figure out what, is there more to this music?
Pixie's a genie.
Yep, she is.
Yeah.
That propelled me into doing my first 12-week study. And we did a 12-week study, and we discovered all kinds of amazing things where, when people listen to the plant music, it detoxes the body. It also boosts the immune system. It promotes a sense of peace and wellness. It increases the oxygen levels. And during that 12-week study, we saw that it got rid of parasites. Every single person that had parasites got rid of them. And we didn't know what we were doing. And after I got that information, I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this, right? And so that really propelled us into all of the different studies I've been doing for the past 6 years on the healing effects of the plant music.
Well, I'm gonna put your website up so people can have an experience and actually go to your site and see how they can actually get the recordings. If you go to Dominher or somebody from Dominher, you can actually get a device. But as Teresa explains, you've got to entrain it. in the meantime, Teresa's already has some recordings, and I do have a little clip if you want me to play it. But first, I wanted to read this list that you sent me of what the sound baths do. Is that okay if I?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Because I think that's really going to let people know. I mean, basically, we're in a phase right now, and she says, so do not all, Xana says, apologies for my being new to this. So do not all plants do music?
All plants have the capacity to play music. But just like, think of your domesticated pets. So each pet takes on a personality, and the personality is similar to its owner or the environment that it's in. And we as humans, we resonate with different genres of music, all of us, right? And so what I've learned over the years is some plants sign up to do the healing in this way. Some plants do not, at least from a public perspective. So I used to have a ponytail palm that I would take to my public events and my public sound baths. But it was a hit or miss as to whether that plant would play music when it was out in the public. And finally, I meditated with the plant, and the plant told me I didn't sign up to do this in public. So think about the humans who are afraid of speaking in public, right? So it's a similar thing with plants. They all have the capacity to do that. And all of nature is always singing, whether you hear it or not.
Right, right.
The equipment just gives us the capacity to open up our ear chakras and connect with the plants in a different way than before. Perfect. Does that make sense? Did that answer her question?
I think so. Let us know, Xana, if you need more. I see. Thank you. So makes sense, she says. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So what I wanted to share is the benefits of these sound baths. And I have to say, I'm lucky I got to spend some time with Pixie at the ISSSEEM event, and then Pixie came to my office. So I got to spend some time with Pixie then. And then I do have a couple of your recordings. But benefits of her sound baths include reduces pain, stress, and anxiety. Who doesn't need that? Promotes deep relaxation and spiritual connection. Who doesn't need that? Improves sleep and harmonizes emotions. You already talked about the sleep. Removes blockages and toxins. And that's what a lot of people right now are going through to upgrade and hold more light. We have to clear our system. So that's very good. Releases old behaviors and thought patterns. Definitely important. Increases creativity, energy, intuition, and motivation. It's showtime. So for everyone that came here to do their work, this is the time to do it. And last but not least, strengthens the immune system and stimulates circulation. So who doesn't need all of that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we had, my research has expanded to where it was a year and a half ago, I was partnering with a lab out of Encinitas, California. We did some brain mapping because I wanted to know what was going on in the brain. And the reason for that is because I have a lot of parents bring their children to me for private sessions with the plants that their children have ADD or ADHD. And we've discovered that when the children with those behavioral conditions listen to the plant music, it really calms them down and centers them. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing some research just because I started having clients come to do that. And so because of that, I wanted to know what's going on in the brain when someone listens to the plant music. So we did some brain mapping. We also used GDV, which is gas discharge visualization, which is a form of Kirlian photography. Right. And we looked at the energy fields. We also looked at the stress level of the organs, and we looked at the chakras.
Right.
And what we discovered with that study has the potential to change the way we do medicine in the West. And so I'm working on getting the funding I need to be able to take that to the next level so that I can give more details on it. But since then, we've also done a study on pain, chronic pain, using the hemp recordings that I have because we use hemp and hemp CBD for pain, as well as many other things, but it's really well known for relieving pain. Right. And so what the plants keep telling me is that when we take an herb or an essential oil or an essence or some kind of a tincture, all of those have wonderful, amazing healing properties individually. But they're all one piece of either a living or dying plant. They're not the whole plant. And so what the plants keep telling me is that plant music takes the whole live, living plant and all of its healing properties and capacities into one form of remedy. And so that's why the music itself is much more potent, so to speak, than just a single one. Not that those aren't helpful. They all are very good, but they're just one piece of it. And that the plant music just like brings it all together.
Well, it makes sense that you started out your journey at Damanhur, because so much of what Damanhur does is bringing back the knowledge, the ancient knowledge that was available in Atlantis and some of the early civilizations, Lemuria. And it makes so much sense that sound healing, whether it's through music and musical instruments played by humans, like the didgeridoo and crystal bowls and all of that, but the plants, that's all releasing discordant energy. That's the I think that's the game.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, Kathy. Absolutely. Yeah.
So in your bio, you also wrote something about Archangel Metatron. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So when I first came back from Italy, from Damanhur, and I was working in the corporate world, I was in middle management. I'd been in the corporate world for 25 years. Part of that was in different training positions. Part of that was in middle management. But at the time I was introduced to this and my world got rocked, I was a middle manager for a Fortune 50 company. And so, of course, they really thought I was nuts and thought something happened to me and I was doing some kind of wacky weed or something while I was in Italy, because all I could talk about was music of the plants, you know. It was really quite humorous. Looking back on it, I don't know about it at the time. I thought it was humorous, but you know, you got to remember there weren't that many people awake. But anyway, so what was your question? I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
I was asking about Metatron, but there are two more questions.
Yeah. So I'd been working with the plants privately for a long time because my experience when I came back was not very positive from everybody else, right? So I learned real quick to not to talk about it. Just, it was my little secret. My kids at home and my husband were the only ones that knew about it. Pixie had her own room, so I could shut the door, and when people came over, they weren't even exposed to it, you know, because the majority of the world wasn't ready for it, or the majority of the people that I associated with weren't ready for it. So what happened was I decided that Pixie, she keeps talking to me, so I keep losing my train of thought. That's so funny. She wants me to tell everybody to, when you go to my website at plantmusictherapy.com, there is a free recording that everyone can sign up and receive. It is a recording of Pixie, and it has been shown through research to boost the immune system.
Oh, perfect. I'm doing it right afterwards. Here,
so please, it's free. You don't, you know, just take advantage of it if you can. Are you happy now? Okay. So sorry, she's like right in my face, but she kept talking to me, and I was like, "What?"
She is the star of the show, so thank you.
She is the star of the show. Yeah. So anyway, that's so funny. I've never lost my train of thought like that before, and she just keeps talking to me. So anyway, there's obviously what I want you all to know is, even though you can't hear her music playing, she's obviously playing her music right now. And what we discovered through the research is having a live session with the plants is I said that backwards. So listening to the recordings is just as powerful as having a live session with the plant if you listen to the recordings twice. So all of our studies that we've done with the recordings is people will listen to the music while they're sleeping. They'll listen to it once, like 5 days a week, and then after 6 weeks, they see some dramatic results, like changes in their cholesterol. We've seen lots of changes in cholesterol and bringing liver enzymes back to normal. HDL being brought up, LDL being brought down, chronic pain being changed. She just wanted me to make sure that you understood that it's consistency, just like anything in life, right? When we get a prescription from a doctor, you can't just take one of them. You have to take them till the bottle's empty.
Like 21 days? Like 21 days, they say that 21 days or 28 days to change a habit. Is it something like that you do it every day? Okay.
Yeah. And the protocol that we discovered through our research is if you listen 5 days a week, once a day, and most people, because they're so busy, would rather fall asleep to the music because it helps with insomnia. So it helps you fall asleep. So people will usually, when they go to bed, turn the music on and they'll fall asleep to the music and they'll listen to that 5 days a week. And then after 6 weeks, so 5 times 6, that'd be 30 days. Then they see some really dramatic results in what's going on with them.
Wonderful.
And in fact, this chronic pain study that we just did with the hemp plant, we also did one at the same with frankincense and myrrh recording that I have.
Oh, wow.
What we discovered with the frankincense and myrrh was that it also was working on heart arrhythmia conditions. And so we're going to do some more research with that to see really what that means. We've just gotten an inkling of the possible potential with the frankincense and myrrh recordings.
So frankincense and myrrh is the Christ energy. So the high frequency. So we have a few questions here. Just although we were talking about Metatron before Pixie.
Yeah. We'll go back to Metatron.
Okay.
We'll go back to Metatron when we're done.
Okay. Darlis was asking, and she owns one of the devices, one of the bamboo ones.
Okay.
He says, I'm wondering if the music of microgreen plants could aid in nutrition.
That's what I'm hoping. That's really what I'm hoping is that. So I'm just gonna put it out there. This is the year to be seen, so I'm not gonna hide from any of this stuff that I've discovered. Is that I believe, based on what the plants have been teaching me and what the experiences are from the people that have been in my studies, is that eventually that will be the case, and it will be an accepted case, but that it is a potential right now.
Okay. So that means
but it all comes down, the majority of it comes down to intention.
Okay.
Okay. So what the plants tell me is how the first step is to be with nature, to be with the plant. So plant lovers already know this. Gardeners already know this.
I got plants all over the place here. I've got an orchid. Whoops.
Right.
She's happy.
You've got lots of them.
Yeah, and she's blooming again. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky it didn't just.
That's because of all the love and the light energy that's there in your office and that you give her all the time. But nature's always out there to help sustain life. So if your intent with a plant is for it, like the microgreens, to do that, then let the plant know that you want to receive that and you will receive it. But how many times are we out in nature? We're walking our dogs, we're going for a walk, or we're jogging, but we're not with nature.
Right.
Think about it. There's a difference. We're in nature, but we're not with nature. I mean, do you notice the way that the trees are growing? Do you notice the vegetation around the tree and the community that is taken care of? Are you noticing where it's struggling or where it's getting lighter? I mean, how much do we really notice nature? And so those of us that aren't really connected when we're in nature, that's the first step. But those of us that are already connected with nature, because we're already working with plants or gardening or whatever, then that's where the intention comes into play.
So thank you. And Darla said, wonderful, thank you. And then Zach asked, he's put 2 comments. One of the ones, he said, this is not a loaded question. Uh-oh. That's his.
I love loaded questions.
Anyway, take it at face value. What do you think of ayahuasca and how it is used by indigenous peoples versus the context of groups in the U.S.?
Well, one of the research studies that I really want to do is with ayahuasca, tepezcoite, peyote, and marijuana. And so I'm growing some marijuana right now to start this part of the research, because I believe, based on what the plants teach me, that you should be able to obtain the same benefits from the music of the plant as you would from the people who are going on journeys with it and they're using it as a tea or some kind of a tincture that they ingest. That's the theory I have. That's the theory I want to either prove or disprove. And that's what the plants keep telling me, because as I said earlier, the plant music is the whole live living plant, and all of the other stuff is just one piece of it.
Wow. So, but that could be pretty out there. I mean, I haven't ever done ayahuasca, so I don't know, but and I'm a little frightened of all of that stuff anyway, personally. Right. I'm out there enough without it.
Right.
But the idea of the healing properties of the whole plant, which again, it's resonance, right? It's not just healing, it's about being in alignment with source, with all that is, so that you're anywhere that you've got a distortion, it gets smoothed out.
Yes, exactly. And so Tepezcuite is the Mayan sister to ayahuasca.
Okay.
And Pixie has been providing the music for some Tepezcuite ceremonies that have been taking place in the U.S.
Okay.
And her music, of course, has been helping people go deeper with the plant medicine. And what I'm working on right now is obtaining some seeds to grow the plant that is Tepezcuite comes from, and then doing experiments with it, just like I'm going to do with marijuana.
So are they all in Pixie's room? I mean, does Pixie have a party with all these new plants?
Well, at any point in time, I have between 60 and 80 plants in my home, and the majority of them are in Pixie's sound garden. Yeah, in her own room. Yeah. So she has her own room, but she likes it better when she's in my room. So she sleeps in my room with me. And we have a little jungle in my bedroom, but her family is in her sound garden, which she goes to every day. So yeah, she has her tribe.
So cool. So what do you see, Teresa, for 2020? I've asked everybody on here pretty much what they see, because it feels the energies are shifting so much now. There's a bunch of us that are showing ourselves, that have been working behind the scenes to help usher in love and cooperation and a whole different way of looking at life. The innocence and the creativity and the wonder of life. How do you see what you're doing working with this new era?
That's a really good question, Kathy, because I'm feeling like this energy is really about all of us stop being small, that we start owning our power, we start owning what we're here to do, we start fulfilling our purpose, our divinity, living our light and being our light. And I really, for me, I can speak personally for me, when I started discovering the healing benefits of the plant music and saw the potential that it really has as a healing component.
Right.
I have to be honest, I was afraid. And because it's so big, I was afraid of ending up making waves, ending up with a target on my back from Big Pharma or whoever.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. And so in the beginning, I told the plants I'd be happy to go on this journey, but I don't want my life thrown apart. I don't want to, be drugged through the media and all that kind of stuff that you hear about that happens. And I would be happy to do it as long as it's under the radar. And so for me, 2020 is the year not to be under the radar anymore. It's the year for everybody to really know what really is happening with the plant music, and owning that, and letting those who are drawn to it to use it, letting those who might not be drawn to it, let the seeds be planted, because you can never undervalue the importance of a seed that's planted, because it will germinate when it's the time and the environment is. The plant music and our knowledge and the research that we've been done. It's the time for everybody to know about it. So this year, my goal is to get my book done, and we're going to be taking this on the road even more than we are, and expanding in a bigger way, because it is time.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And you guys, if you haven't experienced this, I hope you get to, in fact, we've got, there's a little bit of reverb here. Do you want me to play this track and see if it comes through? Okay, so we don't have a whole lot more time, but I'd love to play this track, and I'll play it as loud as I can, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it. That's the redwood trees. So it's a Gentle Giant sample, and it's only 30 seconds, so it's not going to be. So that was 30 seconds, and I hope it came through. I'm also going to put Teresa's URL up here so that you can experience. She does have a free download at plantmusictherapy.com. And you guys, once you've experienced this, you will be amazed at how much beauty is available to us that we've just forgotten as a species, right, Teresa?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So do you want to we have about 5 more minutes. So
yeah, you want me to circle back to Metatron?
Yeah, if you want. Of course, I want to know what Metatron said to you.
Yeah. So I had been feeling this draw to find my tribe after working privately with the plant music and keeping it a secret. And so someone had told me, join Meetup. You'll be able to find your tribe on Meetup. And so I did. And I got this email right away about this group where this lady channels Metatron, and her description of why she started the group and what the intent was really spoke to me on a very deep level. So my daughter and I went, and on the way there, I just said to Spirit, as I always do, if this is the group that's supposed to be for me, if this is where my tribe is, then I need a sign. And I need the sign to be so big, I can't miss it. And I need it to be so loud, I can't misunderstand it.
Right.
And so we went to this channeling, and I thought she was going to be giving private channelings, but there were like 25 or 30 people there. So she just did a group channeling, a general channeling. And about halfway through, she says, those of you that have been using crystal bowls, it's really important that you start doing them in public, because the world needs the healing from the crystal bowls. And at the time, as a sound healer, I used crystal bowls in my private practice for 15 years prior to that, but I'd never done publicly, nor had I ever thought about it. And I went, oh my gosh, is that my sign? Holy cow, how did she know, right? And my daughter looks at me and she's like, Mom. And then the very next words out of her mouth were, and those of you secretly playing with the plants, the world is ready. And I kid you not, Kathy, I about fell out of my chair when I heard that. I had chills from head to toe. My hairs were standing on end, and I went, OMG. And my daughter said, Mom, there's your sign. And so it was the very next day I started my Meetup group with crystal bowls and plant music. And it's been going like gangbusters ever since. But that's what started me getting into the public light, was that channeling for Metatron.
It still, though, is until someone experiences and sees well, hopefully they'll go to your site and download that clip and feel the difference of how you feel when you have the support of the different frequencies, because it is a reconnection to who you really are.
Yep, it is.
Right?
Yes, absolutely it is.
So,
and go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you have any stories of things that happened with people so that people could get a feeling, besides you're sleeping really well, and people and kids that are ADD may have a chance to live a more normal life?
Yeah, when we did the brain mapping study, one of the subjects was on medication for severe anxiety and depression, and had been on on different medications for that for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And this person was able to go off of the medication using the music. And that was pretty phenomenal for that to happen after that many years. And in fact, when we were doing the study, the researchers were actually concerned about his welfare, because based on what we were seeing, it looked like something really bad was happening. But he felt great. He was on the beach, swimming in the ocean, having a good old time. But in his energetic field, there was all kinds of stuff happening that was changing what was going on with him. And he felt great and didn't have any real side effects from it. As long as he was listening to the music, he didn't have any side effects. So that to me is one of the most powerful stories that we have, most powerful testimonies.
Is it one of the things that do you untrain yourself to it, and then eventually you don't need it and you go on to a different set of music? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, and that's why people like to join my subscription program, because as part of the subscription program, they get 2 recordings a month, and the recordings that they get every month are not offered to the public. So what you see on my website that you can buy are recordings that we've done research on, that we can show the conditions that it helps with. But what the subscription program is they get all the new stuff. And they get 2 recordings a month. And so what you're able to do as part of the subscription program is then really take your experience to another level, whether it's of physical healing and emotional or spiritual healing or a reconnection, whatever your intent is, you're able to take it to the next level, because every month I send out a report that tells you and explains what the healing benefits are of that particular plant. Also, how to use the music. I provide the links and the resources to the research that's been done with that plant. So you're not just taking my word for it, because I believe in marrying and bridging the research and the etheric of what's going on here. It's really important to do that. And so they get 2 recordings a month, and twice a year they can have a private session with Pixie that they get a recording of as well. So they're getting all the new stuff. And so it's what's happening in the subscription program that's really helping push the research, because I get feedback from everybody that's in the subscription program. Oh, guess what? This is what happened. I've been experiencing this. Is there something to that? Then I'm like, okay, well, let's see what's going on with that. And so that's kind of what has driven what direction the research goes now, because those people that are part of that subscription program really want to take their level of connection and healing to a new step, a new level.
And I really feel that sound is one of the best ways to heal, because unless it's played too loud, it doesn't alert the ego. So if you go at a cellular level, and we all are notes. That's what our DNA is. It's actually a sound. And so if we're out of tune, that's when we have disease, or that's when we have discordant or high emotions. And so this is a way to tune your instrument.
Right? Exactly. And there was research done by Cleve Baxter in the 60s that proved plants understand intention. So anytime someone has a session, whether it's with a live plant or with the music, setting the intention of what you want to receive, or the intention just to receive, is really important.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Teresa. We're going to have to sign off, but thank you. I love your work. Thank you, Pixie, so much. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. We're so honored to be here. Thanks on behalf of Pixie and myself. Hope to see you soon and hear from you. Email me on my website if you have any questions.
Yes, please. Please sign up and get the free download so that you can start the journey to this. And if it resonates, you'll want to go deeper. I can already tell you there is a lot of science. This is not just us pulling this out of the air. This is really a way back to health and well-being and harmony. So thank you so much, Teresa. Love you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you,
Thank
dear.
you, everybody, for showing up. Love you all.
Bye-bye.